and like a fart in the wind, Diogenes was gone. Which was more than could be said for what he did on the couch. Timbo stared blankly at the festering pile of human filth on the cushion that had so often hosted his bare feet. That maybe if I covered it up with things, I can keep the smell locked up, he thought. But then he remembered. The stream. An audience of 8 people had just watched a strange old guy fully relieve himself in Timbo's living room. A smarter man might have worried about YouTube TOS violations. Timbo was not a smarter man. He pointed his camera directly at the waist and demanded to know who sent the weirdo who did this. Chat was silent for about 1,000th of a second. Then, better call the cops, Potato Head. The police. Yes, they would have to do something about this. He picked up his phone and quickly dialed 112. For once, they would be forced to serve his needs. In a way, he almost enjoyed what was happening. "Thank you, old man," he said under his breath. "You just made my day." Unfortunately for him, the operator picked up right then and heard what he said. He too spoke English and responded in kind.
"Hello, do you need emergency services, sir?"
He'd had more than one foreigner accidentally dial 112. "Yeah, this guy just broke into my house. I need the police." He dutifully began the process of dispatching officers.
"I see. What is your location, please?"
Spud Dud suddenly smelled a rat that wasn't there. "Wait, is this some kind of trick? Shouldn't you know where I am?" The operator was stunned.
"We do get a general location from your phone, but I'm just asking where the crime happened."
Timbo winced. He knew that. Why did he always have to make things difficult? "Oh yeah, sure, right. Sorry, I've just been dealing with a lot of stuff. My address is 123 Landerslev, Anderslev, Haldenhagen, Denmark. My name is Tim Dooley." Entered the address into the system and pulled up a name. Thomas Dahl. He double-checked. Yep, that was the legal name.
"Oh, I see. Are you reporting this for the person who lives there, or can I speak with Mr. Dahl?"
Spud Dud winced harder. There it was again. That damn name. "Yeah, that's me, but I go by Tim Dooley now. Pete Potato of L Life." As he said that, he was busy reading up on Mr. Dahl's somewhat extensive record. Theft, assault, car-related offenses, and of course the My Mercado incident.
"So, Mr. Dyer Dooley, is the intruder still there?"
No, he's gone, but he did shit and piss on my couch, he said matter-of-factly.
"Oh, okay. Are you or anyone else injured?"
Next question struck another nerve in Timbo's smooth brain. "Fuck yes, I'm injured, my couch is ruined, I need help now."
"Ooh, here we go again."
Switched lines and radio dispatch.
"Unit 8, dispatch, be advised, we have a report of a break-in at 123 Landerslev, Anderslev, Haldenhagen."
There was a pause. Then a voice crackled through.
"Damn it, that's Dal's place! What's he doing this time? Did his neighbors beat him up for playing music and screaming too loud at 4 a.m.?
"No, he says someone broke into his place and defecated on his couch."
A long silence.
No shit.
"Actually, that would be the solution. In this case, he says there is indeed shit. So by all means, take your time getting there. Wouldn't classify this as a Code 3 emergency, or whatever we call them here in Denmark."
Back at Timbo's apartment. Fuck me, it's awful. I can't stand it. Timbo's arms flailed wildly, trying to somehow intercept the stench pouring into his nostrils. Jogging to the kitchen, he found an ancient box of baking soda. Yes, baking soda! That would soak up the odor. Or it might have, if this particular box hadn't been there since 2019. Attempting to sprinkle it out, Spud Dud clenched in more than one place when nothing came out. Looking inside the slot, he could clearly see something. No matter, he ripped the top off and dumped the contents into the poop. What he got was a solid block of what used to be baking soda. It plopped into the pile with a rather disgusting sput. And that's when he heard it. A new voice from the hallway.
"Are you seasoning it?"
Timbo spun around. In strutted Detective Harry Callahan. Dirty Harry himself. He took one look at the couch before fixing his gaze upon Timbo. "It's serious," Harry snorted.
"Oh yeah, it's serious, all right, seriously funny. I'd be laughing my ass off."
He paused, then finished.
If I couldn't smell it.
Are you even a real detective?
I'm the real deal, Timbo. But I'm not here to investigate who left a duty on your couch. Frankly, I feel damn sorry for whoever ends up with that job. I'm here to show you why you're a friendless reject. Kinda like the ghost of Christmas past, only you ain't exactly Ebenezer Scrooge, are ya?
Timbo blinked. Oh, Christ, this is some dumb Christmas Carol crap, isn't it?
Let's get the hell out of here. The smell is starting to make me want to puke.
With a calm motion, he donned his signature sunglasses, and as soon as he did, they were somewhere else. Timbo recognized it immediately, except it was 2019, a Monday night around 10 p.m. Seated at his computer was a past version of himself. But not Timbo, not even Potato. No, this was Kitty style. Hair past his shoulders, no AI, no delusions of grandeur. Just 2 liters of Europe's equivalent of bum wine and a grand plan. On the screen, chat scrolled by. Timbo watched in horror as his former self stared into the camera, blinking blearily. It's Monday. Let's go to a club. Let's go get some pussy. Harry shook his head.
You certainly have a way with words, don't you, Tommy boy? And with thinking. It's Monday night in nowhere, Denmark. How many women you think you'll find on a weeknight? I'm starting to think you're not exactly the sharpest tool in the shed. Spud Dud.
Kitty stood up, grabbed his phone, and walked out. The first stop, the closed bar. Timbo and Callahan followed Kitty as he staggered through the empty streets, muttering about how Denmark sucked for nightlife. He came across the first bar. Closed. Kitty frowned, shaking the locked door handle. Oh, what the hell, it's Monday. Harry smirked.
Thought you were God, Spud Dud. Why not miracle it open?
Timbo watched himself through gritted teeth. He muttered, This isn't fair. You're taking it out of context. Callahan let out a chuckle.
Don't worry, Spud Dud. You're gonna get all the context you can handle and more.
Callahan raised an eyebrow.
Before we get there, there's one thing I gotta know. How do you remember what's about to happen?
Timbo huffed, shifting uncomfortably. I mean, I was just minding my business, right? I wanted to go out, have a good time, meet some people, you know? And they were the ones being rude. I didn't do anything wrong. He glanced at Callahan, defensive. Look, people just don't like guys like me. I get it. They see someone with confidence, someone who's different, and they get all scared. That's all it was. They overreacted. His voice wavered slightly. I wasn't that drunk either. I knew what I was doing. I remember being totally in control of myself. Harry asked,
So what you're saying is, you meant to film the people who didn't want your company?
Timbo scowled. I wasn't filming them. I was just streaming. I stream everything. It's not my fault if they happen to be in the shot. If they didn't want to be on camera, they could have just ignored it. He crossed his arms. And besides, it's not like I was being a creep or anything. I was just trying to talk to them. Be friendly, you know? People love being on streams. If anything, they should have been grateful I was including them. In the back corner, he spotted the leather couch. Perfect. Across from the couch sat a group of 4. 2 men, 2 women. The last remaining cluster of human interaction in this dead zone of a bar. Kitty beelined for the couch and plopped down as close as humanly possible. His phone, still streaming, rested in his lap, its screen casting a pale glow over his flushed face. Kitty sat there, doing nothing for a solid minute, just fidgeting, tapping his knee, scrolling through chat, and glancing over at the group every few seconds. Chat was already roasting him. Dude, do something. Timbo frozen like a deer in headlights, LMAO! He's working up the courage. We got a live one, boys! Kitty, now acutely aware that he looked like a man hovering awkwardly near a social group he wasn't part of, decided he needed to do something. First, he patted his pockets. Cigarettes. Shit.
Must have left them back at the Fortress of Solitude, eh, Super Spud?
Kitty bolted from the couch and staggered up to the bar. The bartender, already assessed that he was a problem, stared at him, unimpressed. You sell cigarettes? She nodded and told him the price. Kitty, in his slight drunken stupor, took an extra minute digging through his pockets for the right amount. A long, painful minute. She handed him the pack. Kitty nodded to himself, feeling accomplished. Now back at the couch, Kitty patted himself down again. No lighter. Timbo, watching all this from the groaned. Jesus, I remember this now. Harry smirked.
And yet you managed to still look surprised.
Kitty, having exhausted his own pockets, turned to the group next to him. He leaned in slightly toward the nearest man, one of the guys on the double date. Hey man, you got a lighter? The guy, not wanting to make a scene, handed over his Zippo. Kitty lit his cigarette, took a drag, and handed it back. He now felt marginally cooler.
Kind of ashamed to learn God. Needs to borrow a guy's lighter to get his cigarette going.
His confidence slightly boosted, Kitty noticed a guitar resting beside the couch, a cheap, beat-up 6-string, except it had 5 strings. Kitty, feeling inspired, picked it up. He gave zero thought to the fact that he was about to play a broken guitar in a public space. Chat was egging him on. Oh no, do it, Timbo. We getting free bird or what? It sounded like absolute ass. Half a chord, a string slap. Another half chord. One of the women at the table grimaced slightly. Her date snickered. Kitty, blissfully unaware, pressed on for another painful minute. Eventually, satisfied that he had serenaded the bar, he set the guitar back down. He now had to seal the deal.
Well, that pretty much sucked, Timbo. Who knew guitars need things like strings or tuning? Oh, right, guitarists.
Kitty leaned in toward the group. Hey, mind if I join you guys? The first guy, the one whose lighter he borrowed, shook his head.
No, sorry, man. Last guy we let join our group turned out to be a weirdo. Plus, it's kind of a double date. Who wants to be a fifth wheel?
The other guy laughed heartily, went insane. LMAO rejected. They called him a weirdo to his face. That's a no, champ. Kitty tried to play it cool. Heh, yeah, fair enough. But inside, the rage was already boiling. Timbo knew what happened next. This was the moment. This was where the fuse was lit.
Vino veritas, Timbo?
Timbo bristled. Oh, come on. It wasn't like that. I wasn't even that drunk. I knew exactly what I was doing. He gestured wildly at his past self. I was just being social. People always act like I was some kind of menace, but I wasn't doing anything wrong. If they were so uncomfortable, they could have just, moved or something. It's a public place.
That's Rich Timbo. They were there first. Are folks supposed to part like the Red Sea for you? Don't answer that, it's a joke.
A distinct point in his cadence. Timbo scoffed, crossing his arms. Oh, so I'm the problem now? Maybe they just didn't like outsiders. Maybe they were the assholes, huh? Ever think about that? He jabbed a finger at Kitty, who was still trying to sneak another look at the group. Besides, they weren't moving, were they? So clearly it wasn't that big of a deal to them.
You're filming them and your nose. Even I can see them on your screen.
Timbo flinched. He looked at his past self, phone in hand, the screen reflecting the faces of the 4 people at the table clear as day, his lips pressed into a thin line. Well, it's not like I was doing anything bad. I wasn't. Callahan cut him off with a scoff.
Even I can see them on your screen.
Timbo huffed, shifting his weight. Okay, maybe it looked weird, but I wasn't, harassing them or anything. He gestured at the scene. They're just sitting there, drinking. They're fine. As if on cue, the woman at the table turned toward past Timbo, her brow furrowed. Could you stop filming us, please? Present Timbo winced. Callahan quipped.
That was Danish, right?
She says it again.
Not a Danish speaker myself, Timbo. But even I can recognize when someone wants you to stop filming them.
Timbo shifted uncomfortably, watching the scene unfold. His past self, Kitty style, just sat there, blinking like a broken animatronic as the woman repeated herself. I wasn't trying to... Callahan let out a dry chuckle.
Get caught. Well, you almost could have fooled me. But caught you were, and how you handled it, pretty well sums up who you are.
Timbo scowled, arms crossing defensively. I just didn't think she meant me at first. I thought maybe she was talking to someone else.
You know, it takes a special kind of stupid to say that with a straight face. Let's have a quick look around. I see the couch, I see the table, and double date you filmed. And besides the bartender, I see 2 old farts at a small table across the room. Do you even think before you lie, or are you really just that dumb?
Timbo bristled, his lips pressing into a thin line. Okay. Maybe she did mean me, but it wasn't that big of a deal. I wasn't hurting anyone. Callahan gave him a slow, pitying nod.
Well, here's the thing. They didn't like the idea of being part of your show and didn't set out to put themselves in the public eye. You do know the difference, right?
In his mind, Timbo scoffed. Of course he knew the difference. It was, shit. He realized he did not actually know the difference. At least not the way Callahan seemed to. Look, public is public. If people don't want to be seen, they shouldn't go out.
No. Public means being in a place open to the public. The public eye means the public knows about someone. Were these people live streamers? No, they were not. You, on the other hand, are actively trying to put yourself in the public eye. See how they didn't want any part of that? Hell, you didn't even ask for consent, did you?
Timbo's fingers curled into fists at his sides. It's not like I did anything illegal.
Not yet. But you and I both know that this ain't over. And no matter how booze-brained or dim you might have been, you remember how this thing ended up escalating to involve the police, don't you? Except you probably remember them as the Danish Gestapo, there to ruin your good time.
Timbo could feel the anger inside building again. Clearly, Callahan was just another troll, there to make him feel bad about something that was not his doing. Look, I am sick of people like you blaming me for everything that goes wrong in my life. Can't you see that I am a good person who just wants people to love him? Tim Dooley is probably the best person you've ever even seen.
Best? Buddy, it depends on what you mean by that. If you mean the guy I'd want to spend the rest of my life hanging around, you're wrong. If you mean the best person at deflecting, dodging, and victim playing, you could be right. Let's look at what we've seen so far. You decided that Monday night was the best time to go out, pick up a woman at a club, and get laid. I think we can safely say that was a bad idea before you ever even left your apartment. Now here you are, apparently trying to invade a double date. Badly. When that didn't work, your precious feelings were hurt. Whose fault was it that your failure was broadcasted to a bunch of trolls? Whose fault is it that you couldn't handle being indirectly called a weirdo? Your mom's?
As they had been talking, the woman who caught Timbo was speaking to the owner/bartender. At this point, they returned. "Are you filming these people?" the owner asked sternly. Kitty gave her his best innocent puppy dog look instead of answering right away. The woman added, "Nice sad face, buddy, but we all saw you filming us." Kitty's face scrunched up as though she had insulted his honor. "Nobody filmed you," he said, and repeated, "Yes, you did. Don't gaslight me, asshole." Her response sharply cut through his attempt at victim claiming. Kitty spat back, "I'm allowed to stream my life. This is public." The owner retorted, "Yes, but not if you disturb my guests." It was obvious the owner was taking the woman's side, and Kitty wasn't gonna have it. "I was just minding my business, he cried. Callahan laughed.
You know the funniest thing here? You say you're a genius, but you're arguing like a 5-year-old who was caught with his hand in the cookie jar and crumbs on his face, telling mommy he didn't take any cookies. This is the part where a normal person would say, "Hey, you know what? I really fucked up here and I should just man up and accept the blame." Not you, oh no. You were a 30-plus-year-old 4-year-old. And speaking of 4-year-olds, guess where we are going now?
Timbo's eyes opened wide for a moment, but quickly returned to a cold, self-assured gaze. He hadn't been prepared to hear that he might have to confront little Tommy Dow. However, the part of his brain that always steered him wrong came to life with a really unhelpful realization. Hey, we were a smart, curious kid. He's making a big mistake showing young Tim Dooley. With that, a smirk graced his lips as he said, "To my childhood?" Callahan returned the smirk, and Timbo felt his stomach drop just a little bit.
That's right, Timbo. Let's go to a barbecue.
Harry put on his shades, and like that, they were at a backyard barbecue. The adults were engaged in socializing, and nobody noticed young Timbo staring blankly at the grill, mesmerized by the glow and rising currents of heated air that seemed to twist the light.
You've got that? I'm about to do something really stupid look on your face. And you did, didn't you?
Timbo opened his mouth to respond. However, at that moment, young Timbo climbed up onto an adjacent bench and placed a bare foot squarely on top of the hot grill. The child immediately shrieked in pain. The adults' heads instinctively turned toward the source of the sound. "Jesus Christ, Tom, what the hell did you do?" his father asked as he picked up the screaming toddler. The only answer was more screaming. Callahan turned to Timbo, whose face betrayed an expression of something like pride.
Well, that was pretty stupid. How come you look like you just watched yourself hit a home run?
Timbo hadn't meant to betray his feelings like that, and he stammered. I'm just proud that I was brave enough to do something so bold." Callahan laughed.
Dare to be stupid.
But you know what? I think you had a slightly different agenda than merely figuring out what a second-degree burn on your foot would feel like.
Are you sure you weren't just trying to get the adults to pay attention to you? They all seemed so much more interested in socializing amongst themselves. Nobody wanted to talk about cartoons, Donald Duck, or anything you wanted to discuss, did they?
"I don't remember. And no, I really was just trying to figure the world out through trial and error," he hissed.
Sure you were. Just like when you ran away from Mom's house at age 2, or tried jumping out of a moving car the following year. You certainly picked the most dramatic ways possible to learn about the world. Is that what you were doing at the bar?
In an instant, they were back to Kitty's night out in 2019. Kitty was standing at this point, demanding his money back. The owner said he couldn't have it, but instead transferred his beer into a plastic cup. The two men on the date were standing up, and one of the old men had come over and was telling Kitty to stop making trouble. Of course, nobody tells God to chill out, and that just made Kitty even more angry. "Give me my money back!" Kitty snarled. At that point, the people present were done. The two guys grabbed Kitty by either arm and dragged him out into the street. He was outside for less than a minute before he decided to return and demand a refund.
You know, I have to say, for God, you're really quite the sensitive candy-ass, Timbo.
He walked back into the bar, insisting that his money be returned. The men who had ejected him were flabbergasted. The old man who had followed the action simply smirked and turned his back on the drunken fool. This was Kitty's last straw. How dare this old fart look down on God? How dare he turn his back? Respect was warranted, and if he didn't want to give it, God would smite him. Kitty's fist flew through the air and landed squarely on the back of the man's head. And like that, the fight was on. The two daters were back on Timbo, shoving him out again. Kitty's phone tumbled out of his pocket during the scuffle, and the people watching were treated to a view of Kitty being dragged off in a blur of hair. Meanwhile, Timbo and Harry had a better view. The men were holding Kitty down, who had gone into victim mode again. "I can't breathe! I didn't do anything!" The police were on the way.
So, do you still think none of this was your fault? Maybe waking up to the idea that the entire night out was both a bad idea and your bad idea alone?
Inside Timbo's brain, it was an inferno of rage and deflection. He had just watched himself be treated like a creep, and he knew he wasn't a creep. No, it's not my fault. How can you see all of this and think it was my fault? All they had to do was let me join them. They didn't know what they were missing. Then they decided to pick on me by getting the owner. It's a conspiracy. You want me to stop being me because you know I'm Jesus Christ.
Jesus Christ? I know many things, Timbo, but that is definitely not on my list of known facts. In my mind, you're a sad, socially retarded sicko who touched his stepsister. Christ, and you only come up when I think something like, Jesus Christ, what is this guy's problem? And wouldn't you know it? I'm thinking that right now. Well, this has been a pantload of fun, Timbo, but the time has come for me to take you home. Except I'm not going back into that sewer, so I'm just gonna plop you on the couch from here. My teleport aim isn't as good as my aim with a gun, so let's hope I don't put you in the shit. Literally. Or maybe let's do.
Don't forget, I was just your first visitor in this bad Dickens knockoff.
Your next guest is probably gonna blow what little mind you have left.
Will Timbo end up in the mess Diogenes made? Who is the next visitor? What are they going to show him that he'll twist into another victory? Join us for the next episode. Near tube soon you to coming. I mean, coming soon to a tube near you. Thanks for watching and have a great weekend.